Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be doing some work on my IS300 Sport Cross. This project car is taking me a lot longer to work on than I anticipated, but we're finally getting some content on this car now. What I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be chopping up this perfectly good brand new OEM headlight and making something better out of it. So stay tuned. So my IS300 Sport Cross has pretty much original headlights. I think these are the second pair of headlights this car has had because it had a front end collision at one point in its life, and they must have replaced this because they replaced everything else up front. After maybe 15 or 20 years of these in use, they're starting to craze. The biggest issue with these plastic headlights is this crazing effect. When you look at it normally and after you buff it, it looks clear, but once you turn on the headlights, you see this micro cracking inside the lens. Right here, there is some cracking on the surface, but a lot of it is inside the lens. With that crazing in the lens, you can't fix that, you can't buff that out, and you can't coat it because it's inside the actual plastic, so you got to replace the lens in order to get rid of it. So that's one of the main reasons why I was upgrading these headlights now. My original plan a year ago when I got these projectors right here, these are G5-BRT projectors. They're basically a copy of the Hella OEM projectors used on a lot of the early HID cars. And these are really good performance. They've got a coated lens. They're BiXenon, and they've got one of the best optics right now for the price. But I got these over a year ago thinking that I was going to just retrofit the factory ones using these Porsche style Panamera shrouds right here. They're a switchback, so they actually have a daytime running light and a turn signal in them. These shrouds are made by Morimoto, and I think they were like $40-something. At the time I got the projectors, the bulbs, and this for maybe like $150 total, and I figured I was on a budget build. As I got more and more into the project and thinking about the effort I had to put into it, I discovered that whole crazing with the headlights was an issue. So I started looking for new housing. Most of the housings for this car start anywhere from $135 up to $200 now. And they're just aftermarket ones. They don't have anything. They don't have ballast. They don't have the AFS motors. And you know, you're taking a risk on the lens. I ended up finding some of these OEM headlights right here for I think like $200 or $225 each. And I figured I might as well spend basically twice as much on some headlights to make sure they last. While I was at it, I already had these Denso Slims. I bought these maybe like 5 or 6 years ago when Retrofit Source had some kind of clearance. For some reason, they were selling this, I think, for maybe like $40 or $50 each. I ended up picking up 2 of them just because I knew that was a freaking deal. These right now go for like $300 a set, I think, used. These Denso Slims have been around for over 20 years, and they're like the cream of the crop, and they're workhorses in the HID game. I've got another set of these that I've used for almost 20 years now. They were originally on my Honda. They were in storage for the longest time. I took them out and I've been using them on my Sienna and other projects. Over the years, I ended up potting them. These ones actually opened it up and I potted them too. So potting means you basically make them waterproof. What you do is you basically pour a thermally conductive epoxy inside all the electronics inside here to seal them all in and encase them in the epoxy so you don't get any moisture or water in them. So as I got further and further down the rabbit hole, I ended up thinking I needed some demon eyes for this. And I was already on AliExpress, so I ended up picking some of these like $15 RGB with Bluetooth control so I could actually make the demon eyes different colors. So I got these from China. I also picked up this template kit. This template kit, what you do is you put the bulb into your existing reflector, you line up all the holes that line up with the projector, and then you drill them out so that way the alignment is perfect when you bolt it together and epoxy it together. I also picked up some hardware while I was ordering some stuff from China since it was all in the same shipment. These are just screws and nuts and washers. I figure for $3 or $4 from China, I would spend that much just going down to the hardware store just to buy any of these parts. First thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove my bumper and take off my headlights. Quick pro tip about popping these headlights off. There's one screw up here, which is obvious. There's 2 more hidden behind the fender that's not obvious. There's another weird little compression clip that clips into that you have to get out of there. So that's how you take this thing off. Look on the new headlight, you can see the screw down here and the screw over here behind the fender. And then on the bottom side, see this little spot right here? There's actually a compression fit that clips onto this thing that you gotta pop up. All right, we got everything off the car now on the table. I'm gonna have to remove all the plastics, all these things off of here because I'm actually gonna open this headlight up and use the reflector out of here just so I don't cut up the brand new one, or if I make a mistake doing this and it doesn't line up correctly, then at least I'll have the brand new ones to work with. But definitely I'm going to be cutting up the old ones just to experiment right now, just to make sure I don't mess up anything. I was able to strip everything off these headlights that I could, so I could put these in the oven. So what we want to do is go in the oven, set it to 270 degrees, and put it in there for about 7 minutes. That should be enough to melt everything and just separate the lenses really easily like butter. Got that lens off, so next thing we want to do is just take apart everything. So this front shroud right here comes off, the reflector and everything comes off. A lot of people end up painting this stuff black housing. I think I'm gonna leave it chrome housing for my headlights. I kind of like the chrome better. The black housing kind of makes it look cheap and aftermarket, and I'm trying to go for that OEM plus look. You can see I kind of treated the lens pretty badly. I just left it on the cardboard and just pulled it apart because I know I'm not gonna reuse this. Once we get to that brand new one, I'm gonna have towels laid down and everything, so I make sure I don't scratch that lens. Once I get the lens off, I'm gonna make sure I put it away not to get dust on the inside or the outside. Plus, once I'm done, I'm gonna blow it with compressed air. Never touch the inside of your brand new lens unless you want scratches on it. As you can see from the video, this thing comes off pretty easily. It's only held on by a couple of the little tabs in here with some glue, so you just kind of pull this cover off from those tabs and it just pops right out. If you guys need to actually paint these things, I would recommend stripping everything down with some oven cleaner or some simple green. That way you have a good surface to paint once you strip all the chrome off. A little bit of pro tip when taking this thing off, do it when it's still warm. I waited till this thing cooled down and I couldn't get this bottom one off and it snapped. Luckily, I'm not gonna reuse this for any reason except for experimenting, so there's no big deal here. But if you're gonna reuse it, just be careful. Make sure you take this off when it's warm. The next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and just take out this whole bucket right here where the low beam is. Luckily, the low beam and the high beam are two separate pieces. Take this middle part here and then put my template on and drill the holes. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get the fitting that fits into the socket back here, line up our adapter, and then drill our holes. Once I have the holes marked on here properly, then I can cut the center out with like a hole saw or something. Because right now, like this little eyeball up here and everything is all attached. All right, now I got those holes drilled and blown out. It fits perfectly for the mounting holes I need over here for the projector. So I got a 3-inch saw blade right here, a round saw blade. We just go ahead and just cut it perfectly right there. Try to avoid where your holes are gonna be. That way the projector can slide in and we can adjust it to however long we need it to. So I snapped the shroud onto the projector, and this shroud made by Morimoto is actually designed to clip perfectly into all these projectors that they sell, the 3-inch projectors. They have little nubs on them that basically let you snap the thing right onto there, and it holds it without any extra glue or anything else. I'm gonna go ahead and fit that projector into here, kind of figure out all my spacing and how much I need to space off with the new bolts and screws. So I mounted the bolts onto here with the nuts just to hold it straight, and we're gonna just stick them into those holes, kind of figure out our spacing, and add additional nuts and washers to space it out where we need it to be. All right, so I bolted everything up, made sure everything lined up perfectly as far as the eye goes for now. I'm gonna go ahead and mount them on the housings, put them on the car, and actually shine these on a wall and see how off I am on my alignment or how perfect the alignment is. All right, so I test fitted it really quickly here, and I see I have two problems right now. Those two bolts on this side right there are hitting the housing, so I'm gonna have to trim those down with a hacksaw just to get it to fit. The two on the inside look like they're gonna clear pretty good, so I'm gonna leave those alone. All right, I've got it in here. I just kind of screwed it in as far as it could. I put in the auto level motor and everything in here. Make sure all the clearances are good. I put the bulb in. We'll go ahead and put it on the car, get all the alignment right, and get everything adjusted so I can put these projectors and everything into the new headlights. This is the initial beam right here. This is not gonna kick it. We have to do a little bit of rotation and some shifting to get it aligned up correctly. Right now, we're way too far to the left. We need to get back over to the right more. So the alignment tool or my drilling sucked. I was off by maybe like a 1/4 inch or an 1/8 of an inch. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and take apart all of these bolts again, drill the holes bigger, and then clock this thing. And then I'm gonna have to push it in a little bit further now too, and increase the height of it inside the reflector. So that way I get this thing lined up correctly and dialed in. All right, so we're in the trial and error phase now. So I ended up just opening those holes a little bit, elongating them. So hopefully I can rotate them enough inside the hole just to get that clock right so we get that line level. All right, we got the driver's side adjusted down and level. Now to get that on the passenger side and get that to line up. And then once we do that, we're gonna aim it closely together so the two beams merge together. Took a little bit of trial and error, but I finally got the rotation and I got everything correct. I made sure that I had this side right here, the adjustment on the horizontal and the vertical to be kind of halfway so I could go either direction, and made sure this projector is level. Before I had it way too high. I was all the way out and I was still too high. So I ended up having to adjust the top in further and the bottom out more just to get the projector lined up inside the reflector. You notice there was originally 4 bolts. I ended up using 3 because I couldn't get it clocked correctly. So I ended up, you really only need 3 because most projectors only have 3 that hold it, just the 3 axes, so it holds tight. So I got the 2 bottoms connected and I used 1 of the tops. I took this one out because once I put that 4th one in, I couldn't get it to clock right and it was too crooked. All right, so we got both beams pretty much level now. So I just gotta adjust it to merge them together so it looks like one step. So we're about 35 feet from the door. You can see the rotation and the step is almost there. So we just gotta make sure we finalize it and it should be good. We're about 50 feet back and the actual steps are merged into one, which is what we want. So that looks pretty damn good right there. Too bad this is on the test housing, and on the actual housing I'm gonna have to do this again, but at least we know the projectors are sitting correctly inside the reflectors. This is the step from about 25 feet right here, which is usually where you wanna set your height. So this looks really good right now. You can see the 2 distinct beams right there, and at 50 feet they merge, which is perfect. All right, I snapped in the shroud and put in the outside shroud, and man, this thing looks OEM as fuck. Look at that. This is gonna look like fire once we light those DRLs up. And those are switchback DRLs, so they actually act as a turn signal. Hey guys, thanks for watching all the way to the end of this episode on retrofitting those headlights on the IS300. This is gonna be the first of a 2-part series where I retrofit these headlights. You can see on this episode, we got everything lined up correctly and fitted correctly, perfectly on the headlight and on the housing. On the next video on this series, we're gonna go ahead and transplant all the parts over to the brand new OEM headlights I got. We'll figure out all the wiring in the car, get it all wired up, get it all put together. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on bell notifications so you're notified every time I upload a video. If you guys found this video useful and you enjoy this kind of content, give it a thumbs up. Remember guys, for all these different projects, whether it's on the car, on the house, or in the garage, if I can do it, you guys can do it. I want to thank you for watching all the way to the end, and I'll talk to you guys on the next episode.